If you've ever spent sleepless nights wondering why prednisone won't let you sleep, or what you can do to finally get some sleep, you're in the right place. Welcome to my Prednisone Insomnia Marathon. I'm Dr. Megan, a board-certified doctor of pharmacy, third-generation pharmacist, and former prednisone patient myself. Over the past 7 years, I've created over 1,000 videos about prednisone to help people like you manage the complex and challenging and frustrating situation it is to be taking prednisone. In this marathon, we're diving deep into why prednisone causes insomnia, and more importantly, how you can fight back. You'll learn why insomnia is the most commonly tweeted side effect, 9 or more tips to help you fall asleep and stay asleep, whether remedies like melatonin or CBD or others can help, and how to use them safely if you need to. Healthy sleep habits that can make a difference, even when prednisone is keeping you awake. And some relatable memes to help you laugh through those sleepless nights. I've also created a free Healthy Sleep Habits PDF that you can download to follow along and put these tips into action. You'll find the link in the description or the show notes. Be sure to grab your copy. One quick note. Some of the videos in this marathon are from my earlier days as a creator. You might notice some difference in the audio or video quality, but I promise the information is just as helpful. Thank you for your patience and understanding as I've grown and improved over the years. Let's dive in to why prednisone causes insomnia and how you can take control of your sleep. The number one tweeted side effect of prednisone is insomnia. This is a horrible side effect that I personally experienced, but I think we can have some fun with it. So I wanted to share the top 13 memes about insomnia and prednisone that people have shared in support groups. Because, as my grandma said, you either laugh about it or cry about it. So let's laugh about it today. The first one is, sleep? What's that? Because prednisone is stealing melatonin, stealing your ability to make melatonin, have a normal circadian rhythm. Often people get insomnia. And sleep, what's that? Next one is, my day starts backwards. I wake up tired and go to bed wide awake. That is so common with prednisone. And that's because prednisone is mimicking our body's cortisol. And normally cortisol peaks about an hour before you wake up. And it's part of what's stopping sleep and giving you the ability to wake up and energy to get out of bed. So it makes sense that you wake up tired, because you're not getting this cortisol release because you're replacing that cortisol in the form of prednisone. Another reason why we take prednisone first thing in the morning, right? Then you go to bed wide awake because prednisone is like making you feel kind of wired and tired. All right, welcome to the zombie apocalypse. Steroids be like, sleeping is dumb. And you wonder, okay, I'm taking the steroid because I have some disease, but it's making me not sleep. Isn't sleep one of the most important things you can possibly do to deal with disease? That doesn't seem like it's helping. Okay, this video is going to release on daylight savings time. So in honor of daylight savings time, especially spring daylight savings time, here you go. I can't wait to set the clocks back and get an extra hour of not being able to sleep. Okay, it's just painful. Prednisone is making us not able to sleep with poorer sleep quality, and you're more likely to wake up middle of the night, like really worried about things with like higher fight or flight hormones coursing through your veins. And don't you just love daylight savings time? How you're more likely to have a heart attack that Monday after daylight savings time in the spring than any other day of the year because of how much it's deregulating your hormones for sleep and waking and stress and heart health. Number 4, my life has become an endless cycle between I can't sleep and I can't stay awake. This is another possible complication of prednisone therapy, is that you might legitimately be having these issues sleeping, but then if you're tapering too fast and you go through prednisone withdrawal, it can cause dramatic fatigue. And so you can't stay awake. So is it the fact that you were on the prednisone or that you're going off the prednisone? It's really tricky. And that's why tapering is such an art. Listening to your body when you're suddenly feeling like I can't stay awake, that could be you're tapering too fast and you need to go back to a higher dose where you actually have energy again. If only prednisone was a cat. It's 2 a.m. Can I get some sleep, please? Did you know that having a cat reduces stress and helps you sleep? Yeah, prednisone doesn't do that. Doesn't really reduce stress, doesn't help you sleep. This is definitely how I felt on prednisone. Me, 4 hours after I should have gone to bed. Time to solve the JonBenet Ramsey case. And like your brain is pressured, just going a million miles an hour. Like your brain could run a marathon if it had legs, right? Like it's so busy with so many things to worry and think about. And whatever you saw on social media before you went to bed is just like, that's what prednisone does to your brain. It's horrible. That's what it did to me. Okay, I love Minions. It says, I want to sleep, but my brain won't stop talking to itself. Anxiety and insomnia. Thank you, prednisone. Yeah, that anxiety is a mixture of the fight or flight hormones being out of whack and that prednisone is changing your mood. It goes to your brain and actually changes your emotional well-being. Some people get so out of whack and lose so much sleep, and this whole perfect storm develops that something called steroid-induced psychosis can happen, where there's no sleep and then you're feeling literally crazy. But it's not you, it's the drug. And the anxiety, it's not you, it's the drug, but it's happening and it feels horrible. I have some really great videos about that if you want to learn more about how to deal with it. Okay, number 8, my daily schedule. 8 a.m., too tired to think. Noon, too tired to think. 5 p.m., too tired to think. Midnight. How do dragons blow out candles? And you have to solve all the problems. Number 9, do you know that awesome feeling when you get into bed, fall right asleep, stay asleep all night, and wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day? Yeah, me neither. Number 10, I'm so tired, but I'll probably be awake until 3 a.m. for no reason. Thank you, prednisone. I love this one. Legend says when you can't sleep, it's because you are awake in someone else's dreams. When I find out who you are, I'm going to punch you right in your face. Who are you? Who is in my dream? Percy Jackson shows up in his dream in someone else's reality. He's showing up. Yeah. All right. More Minions. Me. Let me sleep. Brain. Oh, LOL. No. Let's stay awake and remember every stupid decision we made in life. And number 13. We heard you couldn't sleep, and there are all the sheep waiting to be counted in a creepy way. And finally, number 14. Brain. Instead of going to bed now, let's stay up another 5 hours doing nothing productive. Me. Why? Brain. You gotta. And I'd like to add, because you're on prednisone. So if you're suffering on prednisone, I have some really good tips for what you can do to minimize that insomnia. And so just watch this next movie and it's got my 9 best tips for how to counteract insomnia caused by prednisone.
Are you struggling to sleep while on prednisone? Well, I don't blame you, because prednisone definitely causes insomnia. Hi, I'm Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist, and right now I'm having flashbacks to when I took prednisone and I got such terrible insomnia. The reason I'm awake right now at the wee hours of the morning is because I have a toddler who is not letting me sleep, sick tonight, and so here I am to talk about prednisone causing insomnia. First of all, you might be wondering, does prednisone cause insomnia? And the answer is definitely yes. Is insomnia even a side effect of prednisone? Well, what's crazy is if you look at the package insert, that little patient leaflet they print out at the pharmacy, it doesn't say insomnia on it. But next, it's insane. Like, why is that so insane? Because they did a study of people's tweets about drugs, and they counted every single time somebody mentioned prednisone or prednisolone in a Twitter post. And they found that people commented the most about which side effect? First, insomnia, and second, weight gain from prednisone. People are talking about it all the time, but it's somehow not listed in the package insert. Isn't that wild? What can I do about it, right? So yes, prednisone insomnia is real, but there isn't a lot of great data about it. I have to explain, when does it go away? Well, to answer that, how it causes insomnia first. But let me share with you what we do know about it. And then I can explain more about the timing and how to make it go away. So prednisone, we're taking it as an anti-inflammatory drug, and it's mimicking a naturally occurring hormone in our body called cortisol. Cortisol is amazing, and it keeps us alive during emergencies like famines or war. It's a stress hormone. And if we were in a famine or in a war, we wouldn't want to fall asleep in a stressful time. So cortisol keeps us awake. So it makes sense evolutionarily why our bodies would do this. And how does it keep us awake? There's 3 ways they've proposed in the scientific literature. First, behavior changes through modification of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or the HPA axis, the cortisol system. Cortisol, I already covered, that was the first one. That's why we want to stay awake. We don't want to die even though we're so hungry. It's keeping our species alive. So that's the first one. Second, changes in your natural sleep-wake cycle. Normally, cortisol is secreted early in the morning and then it falls off throughout the day. And by the time you fall asleep, it's nearly gone. And at that time, melatonin goes up and then it falls off throughout the night. So that when the cortisol is ready to wake you up, it does. And they're opposite and they balance each other out. But when you take prednisone or dexamethasone or any other steroid, it's messing that cycle up and the melatonin stays low. And so you don't get as much of that vampire hormone, that hormone that helps us get sleep at night. So prednisone is actually depleting melatonin from our bodies. Other hormones that are affected include tryptophan. So tryptophan is that one we always talk about as, the Thanksgiving turkeys making it hard to stay awake after the big feast, because it has tryptophan in it, right? That's an amino acid that causes sleepiness. And another hormone is called orexin. It's affected as well. And finally, number 3 is hyperarousal of the GABA system. So GABA, or gamma-aminobutyric acid, is important in keeping us calm. And if it's out of control, then it's really hard to stay calm. It says they slow the rate of recovery of GABA and inhibit the transmission of GABA. So it's blocking it and slowing it down, slowing the little pump down. So you're not being able to use GABA as well. Other hormones that are affected could include acetylcholine, N-methyl-D-aspartase, or NAMDA, serotonin, DHEA, and allopregnanolone. All of these hormones are being affected by prednisone. So, wow, no wonder prednisone is causing insomnia. And how long do these symptoms last then? If there's that many systems being affected, how long does it last? Well, some of those recover really quick, but some of them don't. And guess what it depends on? It depends on the dose you've been taking, the actual drug you've been taking, whether it's dexamethasone, which is long-acting, or prednisone or hydrocortisone, which are shorter-acting. And the higher the dose, generally the worse the insomnia. And one study they did of methylprednisolone, which is really similar to prednisone, it's also called Medrol. They showed that symptoms of either insomnia or mania developed within 3 days and persisted for the entire 8-day course of therapy. And most people, it recovers after you stop taking it. But for a few people, mania, anxiety, other jittery feelings don't go away for a while, and you need to get help from your doctor. There are medications they can prescribe that will help you out. You might be wondering, okay, now I know why I'm getting insomnia. Now I know who gets insomnia. It's the people who are taking higher doses. Often at the beginning of therapy, it happens. Even after just one dose, you can get it. That's what happens with dexamethasone. So finally, how to treat prednisone insomnia, or how to deal with prednisone insomnia. Going back to what I covered before, there are hormones that are being changed by prednisone. And so if we can replenish them, then hopefully that makes it so you can sleep better. So the easiest, most simple option to counteract prednisone insomnia is, because the cortisol and melatonin cycle is being interrupted, because the cortisol you're now taking is way up here, then give some melatonin to balance it out, because your body's not able to make melatonin as much anymore when you have such high cortisol. So give melatonin. That's pretty simple, right? There are others in this scientific article that I've been referring to throughout this video. They said that most important thing is minimizing the dosage and duration. So the lowest number of pills, the lowest amount of time. And then it's usually reversed once we stop taking it. And then they have an acronym called Help Me Sleep. HELPMESLEEP. And I'm just going to read it to you. This is what it says. H stands for herbal tea or warm milk. And this was specifically for people who are in intensive care unit taking steroids in the injectable way. And then, so that was H. E is to evaluate a medication list for causes of insomnia. Like steroids, there are other medications that do too. Limit nighttime interruptions. So for example, not having the lab draws in the middle of the night. Poking somebody for blood, right? P stands for postpone morning laboratory tests. So do the testing in the morning, not in the middle of the night. M is for massage. E is for evaluate daytime activity. S is for sound reduction. L is for light reduction. E is for environment changes. The other E is for easy listening or white sound. And P is for pain relief. So if you can get all that covered, then people are going to feel so much better. You will feel so much better while on prednisone. And if you're wondering a really easy way to get melatonin while you're on prednisone, since I suffered from that prednisone insomnia and it was awful, I came up with Nutrinize Zone. It's the first and only supplement for people on prednisone, and it comes in 2 bottles because we want this bedtime one to have the melatonin in it to help you fall asleep. So you can just take this, and not only is melatonin depleted, but there's actually at least 8 other, if not 13 other ingredients in here that we're replenishing that prednisone has stolen. So you can go to nutrinize.com to get Nutrinize Zone for people on prednisone. Can you take melatonin with prednisone, or is it contraindicated? Is there some problem with taking these together? Hi, I'm Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist. And I have been asked this question many times because it's actually pretty controversial. If you Google it, you can get one answer that says yes and another answer that says no right below it. The exact same question has completely different answers. So, melatonin with prednisone or not? Well, let's dive into the studies and find out exactly what the science shows. So first of all, I was asked this by a lady, and she said, one website, it said it was contraindicated for corticosteroid treatment, and this view is echoed around the web, with some websites even saying it can interfere with corticosteroids and cause this treatment to be less effective. I have searched high and low to find where that could be coming from. They're just saying this, but none of them back it up with scientific information. So I want to share what the actual scientific information shows, and then you can decide whether or not melatonin and prednisone actually have a contraindication. All right. So if you go to one drug database and you type in prednisone and you type in melatonin and you say, is there a drug interaction? Some will say, no, there's no drug interaction, which means it should be safe to use, right? You go to another one and it says you shouldn't use them together. And it's like, wait, what? Why would one say yes and one say no? Okay, so first of all, there's a study for people who have multiple sclerosis. So people who have this neurological disorder, they have to take prednisone sometimes, like for example, to save their vision when it's going bad, when the inflammation is so horrible that the multiple sclerosis is making their vision disappear. So they did a study and they showed that when people took a corticosteroid like prednisone or the injectable version prednisolone or methylprednisolone, any of the steroids, that the steroid therapy worsened the level of melatonin in their body. So taking this
made your naturally occurring melatonin from your pineal gland lower. And why would we care? Why do we even need melatonin anyway? Melatonin is essential for our sleep-wake cycle. It is the vampire hormone. It helps us feel tired at night. It is in all mammals secreted to help you link up with the sun and the moon, and to have darkness and light mean something, so that you're awake in the light and you're asleep in the dark. And it regulates processes in your brain to help turn things down. Melatonin actually helps with inflammation itself. And so when people were taking prednisone, it caused melatonin alone to drop. So prednisone is actually depleting melatonin. When we have such a high level of prednisone, which is mimicking cortisol, which is a wakeful hormone, it's causing the sleep hormone to drop even more. And so they're supposed to be in a very tight balance. It's supposed to be this beautiful, like, cortisol goes up, melatonin goes down, melatonin goes up, cortisol. It's supposed to just be this beautiful dance of hormones. And when we take the prednisone, it's causing the melatonin to crash. Okay. And we need it to get restful sleep. If we don't get restful sleep, we don't get healing. And prednisone is making us not have enough melatonin. So that was the first one. There are actual studies showing that when you give melatonin along with the prednisone, that it improves treatment. It improves people's actual disease. So that's true in multiple sclerosis. It's true in thrombocytopenia, which is what I have. It's called immune or idiopathic thrombocytopenia purpura, ITP. And if people take melatonin, and it can actually improve the platelets being built up, it's actually true for people who are critically ill in the ICU, the intensive care unit in the hospital. It said, given the known depletion of serum melatonin levels, melatonin supplements are an attractive and relatively safe option for steroid-induced insomnia. This is in a scientific article. They're saying that this is safe for people getting insomnia from the prednisone. If people are in the ICU, they are incredibly sick. They are near death, and having insomnia because they have to have the steroid treatment could actually be a life or death situation, because they have to sleep to get better. But it's super hard to sleep in the hospital, right? It's even harder to sleep in the ICU because they're testing you like every hour. So giving melatonin is safe, effective, and cheap, according to this article, for people in the ICU given steroids. All right, what else does melatonin help with? So here's another article. It says, it has been reported that dexamethasone, so dexamethasone is prednisone's sister, induced ECM degradation in chondrocytes. So these are bone cells, in a dose-dependent manner, reduce the intracellular proportion of these big NAD+. Melatonin pre-treatment can reverse these negative effects possibly. So what all that scientific mumbo jumbo said is giving prednisone can potentially reverse the osteoporosis from prednisone. What? That's crazy, because normally the only option we have when it comes to prednisone is calcium and vitamin D. And all the doctors recommend calcium and vitamin D when it comes to prednisone. Well, why don't they recommend melatonin when it can help with the osteoporosis too? Oh, that's what the evidence actually shows. It doesn't show anywhere that melatonin worsens diseases. That it actually shows that the melatonin helps to counteract the side effects of prednisone. That's what it shows in at least 3 different conditions. So what I'm saying as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist, is I'd love for somebody to find me a study showing the opposite. The melatonin is actually worsening your condition or your side effects or something with the prednisone, because I've dived really deep. It's not there. What I've done instead is invented a supplement for people on prednisone. It's called Nutrinized Zone, and it contains all the nutrients prednisone depletes, including melatonin, calcium, vitamin D, and melatonin are all in here, replenished because prednisone is stealing them. And when we give them back, you can feel like yourself again. I talked to a guy today and he said, I have no words to describe how amazing this is. I'm stunned. I can't describe it. It's amazing. I've gone on prednisone so many times and I've never had anything that made it better. And I went on this and it has changed everything for me. So get Nutrinize today at nutrinize.com. That's Nutranize. And you can replenish all the nutrients, including melatonin that prednisone depletes, and feel like yourself again. Finally get that restful sleep that you've been craving. Does prednisone make you sleepy? The good news is no, prednisone does not make you sleepy. It's not one of the drugs that you take that is going to make you feel drowsy. However, that's not quite a complete answer, because another word for sleepy could be tired or drowsy or lethargic or weak. And does prednisone cause any of those? The best bonus at the end. I'm Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist, and let me give you a more nuanced answer so that you can really understand what it means if you take prednisone to your energy level. Prednisone does not make you sleepy, but prednisone is mimicking your body's hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is the hormone your body uses to help you wake up in the morning. And so if you're having extra wake-up hormone floating around in your body because you're taking prednisone, what's that going to do to you at night? It might make it harder for you to fall asleep. In fact, the number one tweeted side effect of prednisone is insomnia. So if you're having insomnia because of taking prednisone, you may have the feelings of being tired, exhausted, lethargic, because you're not sleeping at night. Not because the drug is making you drowsy, but because it's making you lose sleep. Does that make sense? So let me tell you, in the words of people who've actually taken prednisone, what it feels like as far as the tired symptoms of prednisone. So one person says, I hate being tired and not sleeping well. Another one said, I think the mental game for me is harder than the physical side effects. I know the medicine is saving my life, but the heart palpitations make me more anxious. The weight gain makes me depressed. The insomnia makes me so tired that I don't feel like a strong person because I need naps. The physical toll it takes makes me feel weak. Does this make any sense? Another person said, depression, weight gain, tiredness, severe bad stomach made me housebound. Another person described the tired feeling as, I am taping right now after 10 years on various doses, and I am tired. My joints hurt, etc., etc. Another said, I get water weight gain and I'm bloated and tired. Another one said, I have weight gain and fatigue as my worst side effects of prednisone. And finally, lethargy and tremendous weight gain that I'm struggling to lose. So prednisone does not make you sleepy, but it may make you lethargic or tired. And then another thing to consider is that while you are tapering off prednisone, your body has to start making its own cortisol again. And if it doesn't make it fast enough, you can go into withdrawals or into adrenal insufficiency. And either of those can have a really miserable symptom of weakness and dramatic fatigue, as in you can hardly get off the couch. So prednisone itself doesn't, but the consequences of taking prednisone does make you feel weak, shaky, tired, exhausted, lethargic. So what can you do about it? Let's talk about that. I personally had to take prednisone for 9 months and I felt exhausted because I wasn't getting enough sleep. First of all, tell your doctor. Next, optimize your sleep routine. So one of the things we often do in this day and age is we stare at our phones late into the night. And that's really bad while you're on prednisone because it can make your nightmares even more vivid, or can make you have a hard time stopping thinking about what you just saw on your phone because you've got this wired stress hormone that can make you just more having a short fuse and more jittery and anxious than usual. And so you want to do whatever you can to feel calm when it's time for bed. Another thing is exercising has been shown to help sleep more restfully at night. And that is really important while you're on prednisone. Definitely talk to your doctor about the right kind of exercise for you. Then stimulants like caffeine and coffee, tea, things like that can be different while you're on prednisone, the way your body's using it, the way you feel. And so try to limit the amount of caffeine or other stimulants you use while on prednisone, because prednisone is kind of a natural stimulant on its own. Then seek stress management techniques like yoga, tai chi, deep breathing, mindfulness-based exercises. The best bonus at the end I've got to share with you is if prednisone is mimicking our waking up hormone, what is that doing to your falling asleep hormone? Well, they actually did studies and found out that people who take just one dose of a steroid, either prednisone or dexamethasone or whatever other steroid, it has been shown to decrease your actual melatonin release. Melatonin is your sleep hormone. And so if you are not getting enough melatonin, it's harder to fall asleep at night, to get restful sleep, to stay asleep. So if you replenish the melatonin that your body is no longer having, that can be a really simple and easy way to get more restful sleep at night. So what I did is, because I had to take prednisone for an autoimmune condition that could come back at any time. Currently it's in remission, but it could come back at any time. I invented a supplement that contains melatonin and other ingredients to help you sleep restfully at night, such as magnesium glycinate. It's designed to get you the restful sleep you need, to replenish the nutrients that prednisone steals, so that you can feel like yourself again and have the energy you need to do. I'd love to share some testimonials about how much more energy people get while they're on Nutrinize. So you can see that Nutrinize supports you while you're on prednisone to help you have energy, so you're not so sleepy, you're not so tired and lethargic. And so you can get it at nutrinize.com, nutranize.com. I invented it. I'm an award-winning clinical pharmacist. I did it based on my own experience and then based on the science of what prednisone is really doing to our bodies. All right. So prednisone and sleep, the number one tweeted side effect of prednisone. So what are we going to talk about today? First, we're going to talk about some surprising side effect statistics. I kind of already gave one of them away. And then we'll talk about how prednisone causes insomnia. Next, we'll talk about weight gain and how insomnia is contributing to that weight gain. Next, we'll talk about healthy sleep habits, which is what you can do about it. Finally, we will find ways to share this with you. If you comment below, you can get a handout of these tips. So first of all, in the prednisone survey, I thought that prednisone's number one side effect would be weight gain and that number two would be insomnia, but I was wrong. And if you want to see a more in-depth discussion of that, go back to my Dr. Megan Prednisone Pharmacist page and you can see a deep dive into our survey results. But I was surprised to see that insomnia was only number 5. That of all of the challenges of people taking prednisone, that insomnia is number 5. The reason I was surprised is because there's a study of people's Twitter results of what they've tweeted about, and the number one side effect people talked about when it came to prednisone was insomnia. And 8.6% of all tweets mention insomnia. So I thought it would be higher up than it is. Of the same study, it was just below that. It was 8.2% that mentioned weight gain. And I'm guessing that maybe this is because it's a lot more, politically correct or something to say, oh, I didn't sleep last night because I'm on this medicine, instead of saying, oh, I've gained 15 pounds in the last month because of this medicine. Nobody really wants to admit that they are gaining weight. So I'm grateful for all of you who did, so that I can help you with that in the coming webinars, Facebook Lives. So then in this study, it said that there is no explicit mention of insomnia as a side effect on the list of side effects. So when you get your prescription and there's a list of side effects that you're supposed to expect, for some reason, insomnia is not on there, even though it's the #1 tweeted thing. So how can we deal with it? Let's find out more. So how does prednisone cause insomnia? Prednisone is a mimic. It looks to our body just like our natural hormones that affect the adrenal glands and like cortisol, for example. So when we take prednisone, the cortisol is the hormone that is in charge of keeping us alive. So it's the fight or flight hormone. So if there's a tiger chasing us, we can either run as fast as we can or we can fight back. And the other option is to freeze. And so with prednisone, it's hijacking that system and making it so we have more of that stress hormone running through our bodies. It's great if you need to run away from that tiger, but it doesn't work so well if you want to fall asleep. Mother Nature made it so that it's hard to fall asleep when we are being attacked, which is great, but not so great for those who need restful sleep. Next, prednisone depletes melatonin. Now, melatonin is the hormone in our bodies that help us regulate our sleep cycle. So melatonin is released when it's dark outside. It's released when we have triggers for bedtime, like you brush your teeth. And it's released in a cycle. So every night it's released. And then throughout the night, it's released a little bit less. Right at bedtime, it's released the most. And then in the day, there's little melatonin released. It's kind of the opposite of the cortisol, which is supposed to be high in the morning to help us wake up. And it's supposed to be very low at nighttime when we fall asleep. But prednisone is keeping it up there, especially when we're on high doses of prednisone. So next, let's talk about stress. So somebody who's taking prednisone probably has a lot of stress going on because they're taking it for a really good reason. Either they are going to die if they don't take it, like me. I was almost going to bleed to death if I didn't take it. So that's kind of stressful. And other life situations it's harder to deal with them because of the prednisone. Prednisone kind of changes our outlook on life, and so it's harder to relax. And the next one we'll talk about is the disease. So if somebody's taking prednisone for a breathing issue, for example, like say they're taking it for COPD, and that's when you have a hard time breathing. And so if prednisone is helping, then maybe you can sleep better because the disease is getting under better control. But maybe the disease itself is causing you to lack sleep. So maybe you're waking up coughing. And so if your disease causes you to wake up, prednisone may make it harder for you to fall back asleep. Next is anxiety. So back to that stress I was talking about and the cortisol, prednisone gives us a heightened sense of anxiety, heightened sense of what is wrong, and it's harder to calm down. So between all of those things, it's just harder to relax, to fall back asleep. Then nightmares. Somehow prednisone can give you more vivid nightmares and things that you saw right before bedtime. So for example, say you are on Facebook and you see some old friends, you might have a nightmare about one of those friends just because it was top of mind when you fell asleep. And you might not typically get nightmares like that, but while you're on prednisone, you might. So there are lots of other reasons prednisone causes insomnia, but I thought I would just give you an overview. Next question we're going to cover is I'm going to let the page load. Insomnia and weight gain. So how does prednisone causing insomnia contribute to the weight gain that is often seen by people taking prednisone? So first of all, you take your prednisone, and as I mentioned in the previous slide, that causes the body to feel like it has high cortisol, and that can lead to the insomnia. Insomnia alone can cause your metabolism to change. So this is just insomnia right now. So it can cause the hormones that are normally released while we're sleeping to not be released as high or in the right timing. So some of them help us to not store fat, to build up muscle, and when insomnia happens, the opposite happens. We start storing fat and losing muscle, and that all contributes to weight gain. So we want to avoid that as much as possible by getting restful sleep. So what are some ways to get good sleep? So sleep hygiene is the fancy term for it. I'm going to call it also healthy sleep habits. So number one is to limit daytime naps. Now some people have conditions that are really exhausting and all they can do is just survive. And that's understandable, and you need naps. And if possible, try to limit those to 30 minutes or less, because if you are sleeping during the day, it's a lot harder to get the sleep you need at night and to have that proper melatonin release. Next is to avoid stimulants. Now, prednisone alone is pretty much a stimulant. So you're already getting a little kick when you take it first thing in the morning. So if you can, not use caffeine after lunch. And there are other things that are stimulants that you may not know about, like over-the-counter medicines like Sudafed is a stimulant. There are also a bunch of prescription drugs that can cause stimulation, and I can talk about those on a future episode of Dr. Megan's Q&A. But for now, just avoid using caffeine. And then it's super important to get exercise, whatever you can tolerate. I know some people are taking prednisone because of rheumatoid arthritis or other joint conditions that are very painful and miserable, and exercise is a new complication for them. So if you don't already have a good exercise plan in place, I'd suggest you go to see a physical therapist or an exercise physiologist. There are lots of options as far as people who can help you find exercises that you can do in whatever condition you are in, whether it's just head lifts because you're stuck in bed, or whether it's gentle yoga or other options. You can find something that you can do. And so this is extremely important to help you sleep well. If your body isn't tired out, then you won't be able to get restful sleep. And I've noticed for me, if I don't exercise, not only am I not tired enough necessarily to fall asleep and stay asleep, but I also have more pain. So it's harder to fall asleep because there's joint pain or back pain because I haven't been using those muscles and joints. Next is foods. So for some people who have sensitivities to foods, it can keep them up at night. So for people who have peptic ulcer disease or gastroesophageal reflux disease or GERD or acid reflux, they need to avoid things like chocolate and marinara sauce, and there's a whole list of things to avoid. Talk to your doctor about it and just try eliminating things and see what works. See if there's something that's keeping you up at night, and be careful about which foods you consume. Next topic is so important. It's natural lighting. So during the day, try to get sunrise light. Try to go outside when the sun first comes up and get that
blue, beautiful sunrise light in your eyes. It'll help set your melatonin because, like I said, the melatonin is being depleted. So it'll help tell melatonin when to actually kick in. And get daytime light. Tell your body that this is daytime. And then when it isn't daytime, like when it is dark outside, respect that. Tell your body that it is dark sleeping time by consistently turning your lights dim, turning off your screens. Stop using your computer, your iPad, your cell phone, whatever it is, whatever screen you use, stop using it after dinner or whatever time you set. And then, like, at least 1 to 2 hours before you want to fall asleep, stop using screens. And that way, that blue light that your body knows is sunrise, daylight color, that you will be telling your body that I'm not using any of these screens. So there's no blue light coming in to tell my brain that it's awake time. And if you really have to use screens, then there are settings that you can change. So I'd suggest you change them. On iPhones, you can turn it on the nighttime mode. On most monitors, you can have it kind of turn orangish so that it's turning off that bright blue lighting. Next is a bedtime routine. Now this is the biggest foundation. So if you can set a bedtime routine that's consistent and every night, the same time, the same things you do, that really helps to combat insomnia. So even if it's the weekend, going to bed at the same time and following the same routine is really helpful. It's hard for your sleep-wake cycle to regulate you when it's not consistent. So find a routine and stick with it. And in that routine, make sure that you're doing something relaxing. For me, I read non-stimulating things like poetry or scriptures or non-fiction things, because for me, when I start a fiction book, I'm stuck reading that until the fictional story is resolved. So that's not a good strategy for me. And, not watching TV, things like that at your bedtime. Always brushing your teeth, taking your vitamins, whatever it is you do them consistently. Come up with that plan and do it every night. I know when you are taking prednisone, you're sick, you're not feeling well, it's hard to do anything. But if there's one thing you can get down, it's getting down a steady bedtime routine. Next is a pleasant sleep environment. So in pharmacy school, they taught us that your bedroom should be for only 2 things, sleep and sex. And so only use your bedroom for those 2 purposes. Don't have a TV in there. Don't have a clock that lights up the room that you can see what time it is. If you need to, use an eye mask if it's too bright. If you can, get, dark shades. And if sound is a bother for you, then you can wear earplugs. You can get a fan to be blowing to make noise. You can get noise machines. You can get an app on your phone that's a noise machine. There are so many ways to make your sleep environment more pleasant. Another thing is to keep the temperature of your room cool. The cooler, the more deeply you'll sleep. Not too cold or you can't fall asleep, right? And then my final tip is breathing. So our bodies can't fall asleep if our heart rate is too high. So if you just ran around the block, your heart rate will be really high. You can feel it just beating super fast, more than once per second. And you can't fall asleep after you did something like that. So breathing deeply is important because it will slow down your heart rate. And there's a technique from a sleep doctor that I learned called the 4-6-7. So if you imagine breathing in on 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then hold it for 6 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then breathe out for 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and repeat that. And if you're checking your heart rate, you'll notice it's slowing because you are pushing down your breathing, your respiratory rate. They are connected. If your heart rate goes up, then your breathing goes up. If your breathing goes down, your heart rate goes down. So it's a great way to improve your breathing to help relax you. And if that doesn't work, you can try meditation or yoga, things that help you relax. There are a lot of meditation apps like Calm that's talked me through a few prednisone nights. It will tell you a story or talk you through a meditation, and it helps you just turn that prednisone anxiety brain off and just focus on your breathing and relaxing. And that can help you fall asleep. Those were the healthy sleep habits or healthy sleep hygiene. If you want a copy of that, follow the instructions below. I'll put in the link for you. And I'm excited to talk more about it in the future.
These are all patient counseling tips that you can use for somebody who might be experiencing insomnia. So to limit daytime naps, we need to have them to only be 30 minutes or shorter and earlier in the day, not right before bedtime. Next, we need to avoid stimulants. So this means caffeinated beverages or like the ADHD medications, especially closer to bedtime. Exercise is really important. It has two great benefits. First of all, it tires the body out so that it feels more likely to fall asleep at night. And second, exercise that doesn't increase the heart rate, so yoga, stretching, breathing techniques, those can all help relax the body right before bedtime, as long as the heart rate doesn't increase. Then natural lighting. Again, this has two sides to it. First of all is exposure to morning sunlight. So if somebody's having issues with insomnia, if they go out right when the sun rises and get sunlight exposure to their eyes for at least 10 minutes, then that can really help to set their circadian rhythm, their clock, get it set in the right way so that their body knows that it's falling asleep time 12 hours later. That right now, this is wake time. This bright blue light is wake time. The other side of lighting is our phones. So our phones, our computer screens, our tablets, they all can emit blue lighting. Like I said, that's sunrise lighting. We don't want to be telling our brain through the blue light that it's awaking time when we're doing computer work or Facebook or checking email right before bed. Because not only does that stimulate our emotional work ethic, but it also affects the blue light stimulation in our brain. And there's an option on phones these days to turn off the blue light at a certain time. So I suggest all of you do that and tell your patients to do that as well. Next is a pleasant sleep environment. So turning down the temperature to as cool as you can tolerate, only using the room for two purposes, as they said in pharmacy school, sleep and sex, and to have it cool, and then if it's not dark, wear an eye mask. If it's not quiet, turn on a sound machine. There are lots of free sound machine apps, so making it as pleasant as possible. Then, we already talked about screen time. Finally, deep breathing. So back to the heart rate. It's important to have a slowed heart rate to be able to fall asleep. So you can tell your patients to do this technique that a sleep doctor recommended. It's called the 4-6-7 technique. So they breathe in on 4, so in 2, 3, 4, and then hold it for 6 counts, 4, 5, 6, and then out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And by doing that, it's slowing the respiratory rate, which forces the heart rate to slow as well. That allows them to fall asleep more restfully.
I am thrilled to have join me today two experts in the field of CBD and prednisone. One we've heard from before, that's Ron, and another we've never heard from before, and he's coming to us all the way from Israel. This has been so exciting to have the United States, Israel joining together to talk about this important and like cutting edge topic of how can CBD or hemp or marijuana derived products help prednisone side effects. So I'd love to welcome David. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good evening, good morning.
Hi, David. Thank you so much for being with us. So you're the founder of a company called STERO, and you're basically using CBD-derived products or formula to help kind of substitute prednisone?
Yes, actually, our statement is steroid sparing, and we have an approved patent for that, using our solution in order to lower or to decrease or to eliminate the needed steroids in various, I would say, disease. Within the GVHD experience, within that journey, that specific company was sold later on. Within that journey, in one of the clinical trials we did in Rabin Center, it's a hospital in Israel, the physicians discovered that while they are using the formula based on the CBD, they discovered a decrease of 80% in the need of steroids. It's a very large IP, covering any combination with CBD, covering any delivery system, and covering more than 130 different diseases that steroids are used in order to, to help the disease. When you take steroids for a few days, 1 week, it's good. When you take it permanently, it has so many bad side effects. I'm sure that some of you know it and some of you feel it, but it's terrible. 2-3 weeks ago, Biden just signed the bill that allows R&D in the States. It's a major progress. Because,
wow.
Yeah, that's a big wow. Biden promised several things, but being unable, he was promoting those bills with the Congress, but it was normally getting to a dead end in the Senate. So this time it passed the part of the R&D. We are still waiting that they will pass the other parts of the legal system, and they are really trying to make the bill to take out actually marijuana out of illegal drug. And remember, I'm not talking about marijuana. I'm not talking about cannabis. I'm talking about one ingredient called CBD, which if you want, you can get it synthetic, meaning 100% CBD without any other ingredient. And just as a simple fact, we are talking here about the steroids, and I was talking about solution for GVHD. We have active clinical trial lowering cholesterol. We will have another clinical trial lowering triglyceride. We are having a clinical trial in ulcerative colitis. We are about to have 2 clinical trials, one in peripheral neuropathy and one in obliterans. So all those huge diseases, we claim to say that we have a potential for medicine in using cannabis ingredients. Actually, there is an open label clinical trial that ended in a disease called urticaria. And we used about, I think, 15 patients, and the results are beautiful. They didn't need any steroids, and it was easy because we compared them to themselves. That was an open label one. Right. And there is another one that will end in 2nd of January 2023. We're ending a 2 years clinical study with another 15 patients, and this now we are trying to eliminate the steroids in a different disease called Crohn. Okay, so it's an IBD infection disease, and it seems that we are doing good also there from the general response. We have seen that already in the GVHD clinical trial. that we lowered 80% of the dosage of steroids. And regardless of lowering steroids, our IP also covers enhancing the therapeutic effect when using CBD and steroid together. And we demonstrated, again, only a small portion of people, 10 people, when, if you remember, we had a Delta COVID, and that was killing people mainly with cytokine storm. And statistically, we should have lost 5 patients out of 10. In fact, all the 10 stayed alive. So, but again, it's not significant in medical science. It's just an observation. We think that there is lots of what to do with cannabis, with CBD, and in certain points, it will replace steroid. In certain points, it will support the solution when we use both of them. We have explained also with our clinical trials and research the mechanism of action. We understand how the CBD helps with the immune system, and it calms the immune system, and it has several effects related to inflammation that decrease inflammation.
And is there any conditions where it's not recommended that you saw any?
So in any clinical trial, one of the primary endpoints is safety. And safety was demonstrated very good in about almost 250 patients in different diseases. So the safety is good. We didn't see major adverse events. I would say conditions, we didn't feel that we needed to limit it. There are inclusion and exclusion to our clinical trials, but currently we don't see any major obstacle to taking the CBD. It's quite safe. It's regarded safe. FDA treats it as safe. However, they definitely require to prove safety in each clinical trial. All those that we did by now, we didn't see any bad effect.
So, and then there's like over like 130 autoimmune conditions. Do you think eventually it will be like inclusive?
So it's autoimmune plus infections. It's like 70-70. So those are known by name. So when you open the IP, you can read 130 names, but any disease with autoimmune based or infection is covered by our IP and can be used in this solution. You can put COPD, asthma. So many are there, FMF, so many are there. So in some of them, the solution is not steroids every day. So that won't be effective there. But you need to take all those cases that the bad cases are using steroid every day.
Yeah, so I was 23 years on steroids. So I know very well how it feels. But now I'm 4 years clean, done.
Using CBD?
Yeah. My own formula. Yeah.
Perfect.
Miracle. Hey, what about rheumatoid arthritis? Did you have any trials with that?
Not yet, but it's on the list, following the order of my mother.
Very cool. Hey, Megan, anything from your side?
Yeah, I just want to comment on how gutsy to start with GVHD. That, for those of you who don't know what that is, that's graft versus host disease, which is when somebody had a transplant and it's not working very well and their body's trying to get rid of the transplant. And I mean, to me, that would be a later on the list type of thing to do, because like, what if your solution worsened it and they lost their transplant? Like, that's $1 million organ right there. Like, I'm so surprised and impressed that you would start with GVHD, and tell us more about those results, because that's like stunning.
In general, you know how all of that started. GVHD patients are dying, and GVHD patients getting to a situation where you can't help them anymore, and they're just, sorry to say so, waiting to die. And the physician I'm working with tried to help them with the pain, and he gave them cannabis to smoke in order to heal the pain. Suddenly he saw, and I'm talking about 2012 and 2013, suddenly he saw that those patients that are taking the cannabis in order to ease the pain are feeling better in terms of GVHD. And later on, we did a 10 patients treating patients. The statistics would kill 70% of those patients. I'm talking about grade 3 and grade 4. So grade 3, 70% are dying. Grade 4, more than 90%. We didn't lose anybody. And that was fantastic. And that's how the physician got to it. And that's how I got to the physician. But in general, we truly believe that we have a life-saving solution just waiting there to be taken by a great pharma, to be researched and to be sold, to enable patients to stay alive. That's in GVHD. So in the steroids, we're not talking about, I would say, life or death. We would say about bad life or good life. As you, Ron, suffered 23 years. So I just estimate that it wasn't easy and it wasn't fun. I think that you suffered several days, bad days. That's what we read in the letters that people are writing to us. And ineffectively.
This is so exciting. Like,
Intriguing.
I had to take prednisone and it was one of the worst experiences. Actually, it really is like one of the very worst experiences of my life. Those side effects were just horrible. And I talk to or email people nearly every day about how horrible the side effects are, and just finding out that somebody's actually doing research to find us an alternative. This is just amazing. Like, this is an answer to so many people's prayers.
It's already 5 years. It didn't start yesterday. And with the GVHD, it's 8 years. So we are deep involved. There is only one solution approved by the FDA. It's
For
a
epilepsy,
solution,
right?
the epilepsy of GW Pharma that was sold to Jazz Pharmaceutical, $7 billion.
When we started this conversation, I was hoping that it could help with the side effects, but then you mentioned that it's not just the side effects that it can help with. It can actually lower the dose of the prednisone and potentially replace the need for prednisone in certain conditions. Like
What
this,
we think that it actually fights the disease, and the result is lowering the steroid. However, you cannot write an IP saying CBD is good versus Crohn, because this is a known fact already in the academy. So we know in the academy there were articles stating that CBD helps Crohn, for example. But if CBD lowers steroids, that's a new idea. The thing is that we think that part of the work that is being done is it's lowering the steroids because it's also have effects versus the disease itself.
wow. So like side effects, lowering the dose, lowering the need for the drug because you're counteracting the disease itself. Like, I was up here and we're all the way down here. Wow. Like mind blown. This is so
very interesting.
So exciting.
Intriguing.
So exciting that there is hope, because for so many people, like prednisone basically hasn't changed since 1955. It's been the same drug, and they've created the enemas and the inhaled versions and the nasal sprays versions of those steroids. But essentially, if you have to take prednisone, you have to take prednisone, and that's it. And so knowing that there's something in the pipeline is just so exciting. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, I would start with the GVHD because this is a life-threatening, but I would definitely recommend those pharmas that are working with solutions based for steroids to enter to that field as well.
Okay, I think we're out of time now. I'd like to thank you, David, so much for being with us and enlightening us with this new information. We're looking forward to see the data that's going to come out. It's going to be really interesting. Megan?
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining us today. This has been More than I hoped for, definitely. I am so excited. And I can't wait to find out more. I mean, I was just Googling, like, when did that get approved by Biden? It was December 2nd. So this is just very
Happening.
late breaking news that it's just
Yeah.
happening right now, that the possibilities are opening up, and that there's hope for so many people stuck on prednisone, like I was for 9 months and like Ron was for 23 years. So thank you so much. I appreciate your time today. And I'm signing off as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist. There are many who've had to take prednisone for years, and they think there's nothing they can do to get off. Well, I'm here to share the story of Ron, who was able to get off prednisone after over 22 years, stuck on it for a condition called rheumatoid arthritis. Welcome to the Dr. Megan with Prednisone Warriors show. Hi, Ron.
Thank you, Dr. Megan. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Wonderful. So, Ron, tell us your story. When did you start the prednisone? Why did you take it? What was the highest dose, lowest dose? Tell us more.
Okay. All right. So I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis back in high school. That was almost 30 years ago. And I was in such a bad shape that pretty much from day one, they put me on prednisone. At the peak, I got to 50 milligrams. Lowest I've been to was 5 milligrams. Of course, it's a lifesaver as a supplemental medication. But as we all know, it has horrendous side effects, especially when taken long term. And I was on prednisone for 23 years straight.
That is such a long time. I was on it for 9 months and I thought I was going to die. So I can't even imagine over 20 something years. I mean, did you just get used to it? I mean, it was just kind of how life was. How did you deal with the side effects?
For me, it was like a part of life. I thought I'm gonna, they're gonna bury me with a little box of prednisone nearby. I mean, seriously, it was a way of life.
It's the way of life. I mean,
yeah. At the end, I managed to kind of stable my dosage on 5 milligrams pretty much for the last 10 years. I think I was on it, but yeah, it really did some damage to my body. For instance, bone density. It really affects it.
Yeah. How would you know about your bone density? What is done?
Well, to begin with, the doctors put me on additional medications to kind of prevent calcium loss. And then I was on routine tests for bone density, and you can see the deterioration, especially in the hips. Yeah.
In the hips, you can see it, like you've seen the actual tests. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize the kind of damage that can happen. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Okay, so you were on it and you thought it was a life sentence and you're gonna die with it. The way you said that was amazing. So then how did you even know that there was any other way to get off of it? Like, how did you discover any way to get off of it?
Well, I tried for years. Many ways, nothing worked. Every time it ended up back in pain. Even going down like 1 milligram was like, like a battle. It always came back to the 5. But then something like 4 years ago, I started hearing everyone talking about CBD. It was just everywhere, to the extent that I thought to myself, okay, I'll just, start reading about it and learning about it and see maybe there's something real in CBD fighting inflammation. So I did. I started researching CBD and discovered it's not only CBD. CBD is only one molecule in the plant. There's CBG, CBN, a lot of other cannabinoids, and additional naturally occurring compounds in the plant. And when they all work together with the right formula, then they have very strong anti-inflammatory qualities.
So
this is
I want to
actually
pause you before you go any further. What is CBD? Because people might not know. First of all, C as in cat, B as in boy, D as in dog. CBD.
Right.
What does that stand for? And what is it?
So CBD is a cannabinoid, one of many that occur in the cannabis plant. Everybody hears cannabis, they think about, getting high, but on the contrary, CBD, and I mean, the only molecule that will get you high is THC. And that's why it's illegal or regulated, but CBD itself and all the other cannabinoids will not get you high no matter, what you try to do with them.
Okay.
So it will not affect anything in your daily life.
And so you were telling us it had anti-inflammatory properties.
Right. So when all the cannabinoids are mixed together, or actually the plant is taken as is, the right strain, they work together, the cannabinoids work together to create something called the entourage effect. And this is actually backed up by research. And this effect actually is known to have anti-inflammatory qualities. So when put together, the whole idea with the prednisone is basically it weakens the immune system to have like less severe attacks for me, like on my joints. But if you actually treat the inflammation from the source, then it actually starts reducing the need for prednisone. And this was actually my success story. So after doing my extensive research, I tried to look for some reliable brand or something like that, but the market is just not regulated. There's many people selling everything and they will make all sorts of claims. So for me, kind of as a curious individual, I actually started searching for extractors. So these are the people that actually take the plant and put it in their machines and essentially turn it into the extract, so the oil. So I found one super high quality substance from a supplier. I did my own blend. The extract itself it will not be absorbed by itself in the body. So it has to have like a carrier oil. So for me, I did it with MCT coconut oil. And it's pretty naturally flavored. I wasn't looking for anything, fancy. And I started using it. So the way you take it is sublingual. And that's because there's a high concentration of veins below the tongue. And the tissue is really thin. So the absorption is maximal. So I took the first drop, took the second drop. And then after 2 weeks, I thought to myself, okay, I feel much better now. And I started cutting my 5 milligram pills into 2.5, so into half. And then I took it for another week. And after 3 weeks, I thought to myself, wow, I'm feeling really good. And then I cut the pills to 125. And then I thought to myself, wait, maybe I just don't need it anymore. And the rest is history. So after 3 weeks, I still have the box with the little 125 pills, the fractures of the pills. And that's it. I never looked back.
Never looked back. So you were able to go from 5 down to 2.5 and off to 0.
Completely.
And you never even used those fourth of a 5 milligram tablet pills, and you still have them.
No, I have them as a distant memory.
Wow. So how long ago was that?
So that was 4 years ago.
4 years you have been prednisone free.
Wow.
I just think of all of the potential bone loss you no longer have, all of the potential cardiac, like heart complications you're no longer running risk for. And you're saying, are you still using the CBD every day to keep the inflammation at bay? Is that what you're doing?
I am. And yeah, the interesting thing is, here and there, I'm a little bit lazy and I miss a dosage and like nothing happens because it actually accumulates in the body long term. So one time here, one time there, it doesn't really affect. In fact, some people will, start like dosing off a little bit, like, cut the amount of the oil. You can try also doing it. I didn't really because I have no interest. But I take it twice a day, 1 milligram in the morning, 1 at nighttime. Hold it for 2 minutes beneath my tongue, swallow the rest, and that's it.
And so how much is it that you're like, is it a squeezer or how does it come
No,
out?
it's like it's a dropper, and it has a gauge. It's it's gauged, and you can actually fill it up to one milliliter, and that's it.
And so it's just a tiny bit of liquid that you're putting under your tongue and you just hold it there for
Yep.
2 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, I've heard of CBD gummies that people have, and what do you think
So
of that?
there's a lot of forms you can take CBD, but you have to remember that once there's something called the first pass, which is basically when you ingest something, you lose from the effectivity of the substance, and you don't really know how much is actually absorbed into your bloodstream, right?
Yeah.
So for me, this is kind of the purest version I can, purest and most effective version I can consume CBD, or, actually it's not only CBD, it's called full spectrum, which is the entire array of cannabinoids in the plant. And specifically, I consume something that's called broad spectrum, which is even without the THC. So there's no way in the world I can get high from that.
Okay. So it's all the other cannabinoids, but the THC. And
Exactly.
so they can all work together with their anti-inflammatory properties, and they're going straight under your tongue into your bloodstream instead of having to go through your gut and having your liver chop off parts of the good stuff.
Exactly. Right.
Before you can even have the effect. So that's great. Yeah, because I've heard of CBD gummies and I'm like, I don't know if that's the best option, especially for people on prednisone. Gummy anything is probably not a great idea because it's basically like medicine wrapped in sugar, and sugar is
that's true. I mean, also,
not good.
Yeah.
So, okay, good. So you've already answered all my main questions. What was CBD? So I'm thinking if I were a prednisone patient who's like, what can we use CBD for? There's several like situations I can think of when somebody might want CBD as an option. And so first of all, we need to know, is it even safe for people who have autoimmune conditions? Like, is it going to make their conditions worse?
No, not at all. So you have to remember that people have been using cannabis for hundreds of years. It's nothing new. And people have been using CBD for years and years. It was just not documented, not recorded, because it was illegal up to 2018, where the Farm Bill was signed. But still, it cannot be really researched. But there's a lot of evidence, like thousands and thousands of people that are using it with autoimmune conditions on various medications. There has never been a recorded side effect. I heard like one time someone got a rash that they thought it's from that, and they just stopped and nothing happened. Okay. So all the evidence show that it's completely safe.
Yeah, and that's the hard part is before that Farm Bill, any part of the marijuana, THC, cannabinoid family of compounds were what was called Schedule I controlled substances, which means not only are they illegal to possess, but even like academic medical centers couldn't use it to do studies without going through an insanely complicated approval process. Right. And so it's not that nobody's trying to do the research. It's that it's really hard to get permission to do the research, right? Like the legal hurdles are so complicated, which is why I find it fascinating that your family is from Israel, and in Israel, it doesn't have those legal hurdles. And so I found that there's actually great studies coming out of Israel. Have you?
That's true. Yeah, actually, as far as I know, the person that discovered the CBD is an Israeli professor. The research is really, really advanced there. There's a lot of companies, popping around that. It's still illegal in Israel. So, and up to recently, they could not even export. So it was only research, no plants or nothing. But now it's changed. But it's still illegal. So yeah, the
Okay.
shoemaker walks
So
barefoot.
it's actually illegal in
basically.
Israel, but they
It's
have
legal to
done it.
research, yeah, but not to consume.
Interesting.
So, but that's going to
Yeah.
change probably.
It's such a
Yeah.
it's such a tricky situation because it's so
Yeah.
like the Farm Bill shows we're not going to enforce the legal status of these compounds that where technically the federal government could come in and say, oh, this is illegal and shut down everything that has to do with it.
Right.
But they said we're not going to enforce that. And so it's just so tricky and gray and it's a hard situation. So with that said, there are some studies, there is some evidence. And so I'm going to shoot some situations to you and see what you think, like if you know of other people who've had that similar situation, if you have stories you can share, and just realizing that there just isn't a great evidence base for this situation. We're on the cutting edge. This is just the beginning, the baby phase of this molecule, these molecules. So the first situation is you were on prednisone and you started CBD. Are they safe together in combination?
Again, well, I'm believing evidence it's safe, but also what I didn't mention yet is that this kind of, personal success was a real wow moment for me, but then I actually saw like an opportunity to help other people. And actually this inspired me to found my own brand of CBD, which is actually the same formula that I was taking, or I'm taking, and I name it Reclaim, because that's like what I felt, because I reclaimed back my freedom from prednisone. It's like it was really felt like jail. So I founded Reclaim Labs, and now I have like a lot of customers with actual conditions and situations that have found help with the oil. So if you want to do go specific conditions, I have psoriatic arthritis, a lot of success with that, fibromyalgia as well, Crohn's, colitis. So basically anything autoimmune. Again, it will not 100% work for everyone, but you have to remember that also medications don't work for everyone, right? It's a lot of like trial and error. The way you take it, some people find that if they go to higher dosage, it worsens their condition, or it doesn't feel as well, so they just stay at a lower dosage. So let's say 0.5 milliliter morning and night. But I'm collecting all this data, which helps me actually know condition versus solution. So that's like a big thing now. In general, in the market, there's a lot of companies that are trying to collect all this evidence from the streets and compile this into kind of a dictionary of condition and solution.
Wonderful, thank you. So that's a lot of autoimmune conditions, people who probably have to take prednisone normally, and so that's helpful to know. I did see one thing about how prednisone is broken down with the same liver enzyme as CBD, which is cytochrome P453A4, which is a potential concern, but it's hard to say if it's actually a real concern. So have you heard anything about that, or it's just
no?
I don't even know.
Actually, I have not. But again, I have a lot of customers taking it with prednisone, and with the goal of dosing off the prednisone, and nothing ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole company in Israel called STERO, STERO, and their whole point is CBD can help counteract prednisone. So I'm guessing if they're forming this whole company, that there must be some ability to take them in conjunction together. There's just this theoretical, hey, they're broken down by the same machine, and so if one is blocking the other, the problem, who knows? So that's one of those places with emerging research we just don't know right now. And then,
but again, if you don't consume it as an edible, then you're not facing this problem, right?
Well, I mean, eventually it has to be broken down by your liver. right?
No,
Like
no,
eventually it
somehow.
goes through your bloodstream and eventually it has
Mhm.
to be broken down by your liver. But the
Right.
first pass isn't happening because you're not, it's
Right.
mostly being absorbed by your under your tongue by your blood.
Mhm.
So yeah. Theoretically, an oil would be a lot safer alternative than a gummy because of that,
Right. Right.
while on prednisone. And I
Right.
mean, if
Mhm.
you're, I know these are like super complicated topics for all of you out there, don't worry. But basically, as I'm talking through this with Ron, I'm thinking that if you're going to take CBD with prednisone, it makes a lot more sense to be doing a sublingual oil
Mhm.
than a chewable because you don't
Yeah.
want it going through your gut.
Mhm.
So there we go. Okay, so we talked about the potential safety about it. So there are several times during the prednisone journey when somebody might want prednisone. There's when you're on high doses and you're suffering side effects. Could CBD potentially help that? So before you answer, I'm going to just draw the picture of this journey. So there's high doses, then there's lower doses and you're tapering down, and then there's after you've stopped and your condition is maybe in remission and you want to prevent inflammation. So those are the three situations. So high doses, tapering down to prevent withdrawals and to help you taper, and then post taking prednisone. So let's start with the high doses. What do you think? Have you heard any experiences of people talking about how CBD may help with the side effects?
So, to be honest, no, not really. I mean, the goal where, usually people take the CBD, I mean, they come to me to try and taper down. So we don't really talk about, side effects. If I'm looking at myself, even that, so my main side effect was, bone loss. I have no way to say if it, what happened inside, inside there. So like many of the side effects of prednisone are kind of internal, right? And you don't really know, specifically what's the process there, what's happening.
Right. Yeah. So that's one of those we don't know yet.
But I guess there are researches that show that CBD can lower blood pressure.
Okay. Yeah. And prednisone raises blood pressure. So
Yes,
okay.
yes. So personally, I never measured it on that ground because I didn't have this problem. But yeah, it might also help prevent that.
Yeah. So blood pressure. Another thing people are super concerned about is their mood changes. So like
Mhm.
anxiety or depression or just the up and down of being on the prednisone, it can really be
Right.
a seriously emotional roller coaster. Is there
Right.
any evidence or any experiences of people taking CBD for their emotions?
Mm-hmm. So the answer is yes. Personally, I cannot attest, to that. But I do have customers that reported that they feel much less anxious and much more calm. Right. But the thing is, like, everybody that sells CBD these days will make these claims, it will reduce anxiety, help you sleep, make you more calm. So I don't make these claims. I say, I stick to my own story. But yes, I did have reports of people that felt, more relaxed, less anxious. And that actually happened faster than any other effect or side effect of the CBD.
So that potentially might be one of the faster acting ways CBD
Right.
helps people.
Right.
Yeah, and another thing was people have a lot of trouble sleeping while on prednisone, especially at high doses. So you're saying that it could potentially help people feel
Again, potentially, yes. There have been reports of, especially CBG helping with, insomnia or falling asleep. But the main thing is, and that's like one of my challenges is actually to educate people that you really need patience and, perseverance. Because people will take something and I guess prednisone, yeah, when you take it, it almost immediately, poof, you're like a Superman, especially when you get the, super high doses shots, right? Then like the next day, you're like, almost, you feel like you can fly.
Yeah.
So people think, yeah, we're going to take CBD and, tomorrow I'll be better. So I did have like customers reporting, writing to me like 2 days after. It's like, wow, you can't believe it. And I'm always like, okay, relax. It takes time. Maybe, maybe it's like, it's here, but that's also fine as long as, as long as it works. But it takes a few weeks, and it can take like a month, 2 months. You just need to be patient and continue the, the regime of twice a day, build up the substance in your body.
Yeah, exactly. That's so true with so many things. And you're right, prednisone is really the exception. It works so quickly to just kill that.
I mean, medications for rheumatoid arthritis, like the core medications, they will take at least like, I know like methotrexate, which is, super popular, will take as much as 3 months to start seeing something.
Right. The alternatives to prednisone for rheumatoid arthritis are literally 6 weeks minimum.
Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah. And I always say like, so it's not that, so usually for autoimmune conditions, you do get like like the core medication, and the prednisone is helping to deal with the side effects of the condition, which is like, what you're experiencing. For me, it was pain, but also like, Crohn's colitis, it's a little bit different. But I always say, like, people ask me, so can I stop the medication? So the answer is no, like never do it. Always, like, if you want to try playing around with your medications, like come to a point where you feel perfect, and then you can start like, dosing down with the medications. If you, start playing with this, like, black or white, like yes or no medication, then you're going to worsen your condition before it's going to get better.
I like that. That's really good advice, because it's the same with the prednisone and every other controller medication. You can't just go cold turkey off of them. You need to work closely with your doctor to get you on the right medication, and slowly, with their permission, get lower on doses. Checking labs, getting a colonoscopy, whatever it is, making sure that you're really working closely with your doctor to ever stop a medication. You don't just do it on your own. Okay, so that was kind of one of my questions, is can CBD replace prednisone? Like, I guess this is like the post, kind of skipped over the tapering. This is the post, they've stopped, like they took prednisone for a flare. And now they're not currently taking prednisone. They're off of it. Next time they have a flare, can they take CBD?
I mean, the whole idea is for the CBD to, if ideally to prevent the flares, the flare-ups, right? So it's like very individual, the goal is not to need anymore the prednisone. Yeah. If somehow you need, the prednisone, then I guess, like take less than you used to take it for 1 day, not for like, a whole week, or I don't know, seriously, like, talk to your doctor. Yeah. I cannot give any recommendations, but just remember, it's like there's no one size fits all. It's like everybody really has to be attentive to their, their bodies and what they feel, and work with that.
I like that. Yeah. That it doesn't really replace prednisone. The idea is to prevent the need for the prednisone. Right?
Exactly. So, again, I'm believing evidence that it can prevent the need for prednisone, right? Yeah. CBD.
So you're not exchanging one for the other. You're using one to make it so you won't need the other.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the CBD is meant to prevent inflammation, right? The prednisone is meant to kind of, lower inflammation, right? By weakening the immune system. So it's completely like two different, methods of thinking about it.
So what I'm hearing is that the CBD is kind of more like one of those controller medications. It's more along the lines of the strategy of taking methotrexate for rheumatoid arthritis.
Exactly.
Or a steroid inhaler to prevent asthma. It's to prevent the need to have the rescue inhaler. It's to prevent the need to have the prednisone pills, because you're taking your inflammation and just turning the baseline down. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, it's actually supportive to the immune system, not like wanting to shut it off, like as a president, prednisone does.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. That's a
Yeah.
nice way to think about it so that it's
And then it's speaking about like the core meds. So for my arthritis, I take what's called like a biological medication, which is an infusion of antibodies once every 6 months. And the interesting thing is that since I've been on the oil, I've been starting to spread out those infusions to the extent of over a year. So I actually don't feel, before that, like when I was with Prednisone, when the 6 months mark came, I started to feel my joints a little bit. I call it like feel myself. It's no longer happening. And I actually asked my rheumatologist at the beginning when I started taking CBD, can I completely get off the biological? So he said, no, I don't recommend doing it. It's not a, well, they call it like disease modifying medications. It's not, it's just like a supportive medication. And now that I talked to him, I said like, listen, can I do like once a year and a half? And he said, well, yeah, if you feel like it, so don't do like every 6 months. And it's fine, you know. So it does do something, you know, internally, systemic.
Yeah. So before you started using CBD, you had to take the infusion and prednisone and anything else, or was it just the two?
No, I've taken so many, like across like 30 years.
Yeah.
I've taken
tried
so many
everything.
medications, everything. And mind you, like in the past 20 years, the biologics went into the market. And that was like a real breakthrough in treating autoimmune conditions. Like I really have nothing else to say. And people, like has like the stigma where people are afraid of the biologicals because they say, you know, it puts you in risk for other.
So we've decided that CBD doesn't replace prednisone; it prevents the need for prednisone. Because I know people have asked, like, how would I incorporate the CBD with my prednisone? Like, do I, if my prednisone is here, do I slowly go down here while I'm increasing the CBD? How would you do that? Like, if somebody's slowly trying to taper off of the prednisone, how do you, like, what's the best strategy to incorporate CBD with prednisone? And this is all your opinion. There's no evidence here yet, right?
Right. Only me and some customers. I mean, the way I did it is, and again, I always say, like, you know, come to a point where you're stable, you feel good, and then start going, you know, to our context, like the prednisone. So I started building up, you know, and for me, it was pretty quickly, like 3 weeks is pretty quickly, but I started by taking the oil, and only like, I think after a week, I started cutting down the pills. And then for the next 2 weeks, I was on the 2.5, and then I didn't need it anymore. But usually, I also tell people, you know, start with half a dose of the CBD, so like half a meal in the morning, half at night, and then like after a week, go up to 1 meal morning and night. And then again, like when you feel you're stable, you feel good, then you can start, you know, playing with the dosage of the prednisone.
Okay. So you're kind of slowly working your way up on the CBD, and you're slowly working your way down on the prednisone. So it is kind of like you're going to meet in the middle and cross over at some point.
And I just because I've been in this, you know, I've had these conditions for so many years, I'm kind of very experimental, autodidact. I basically didn't tell my doctor because I knew he's going to say, you know, the doctors are, you know, not really into that because it's not clinically researched and, you know, this whole story. So I just came to him with the facts. I guess you know, it's better to talk to your doctor, but just, you know, take into consideration that they are not, it's changing now, but they're not really recommending that. Or how did my rheumatologist said, I will not tell you to take it, but I will not tell you not to take it. So it's kind of, it's kind of your choice.
It's such a gray zone right now. They can't really
recommend just because there are, you know, regulations. They cannot recommend anything that was not tested, you know, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, you know, FDA. They're not allowed to.
Right.
So, you know.
Exactly. And so
while they might be sympathetic, they might even use it themselves. Who knows? They can't really say, okay, stop your biologics, stop your methotrexate, stop everything and just do CBD. They're not going to say that because that's not within their scope of practice, really. It's not that they just aren't going to do that. So this is really helpful to see how it could be done. There's no regulations, there's no guidelines, there's no like clear evidence today, though that company in Israel is working on it, which is like super awesome. But
I'll try and talk to them. Maybe we can interview them.
Yes. Oh, that would be so cool if we could interview STERO. That would be awesome. Because I mean, it's coming. That's what I'm excited about, is we're just on the cusp of it, and having a high quality supplier and a high quality product is really important if you're going to do this, because there are some sketchy companies out there. And so, and then back to your conversation with your doctor, I know that after 20 something years on prednisone, a lot of patients are given the go ahead by their doctor to up their doses and down their doses because they've worked so long together. They've worked, and this person's familiar with how the prednisone works in their body. And it's really between you and your doctor, whether that's going to be how it is for you. So some people, that's a thing. Some people, like my doctor, I'm a pharmacist, and she didn't let me do my own taper.
Well, that's because doctors and pharmacies, they have the thing, like, it's like, head to head.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really independent. Like every doctor is different. Your relationship with your doctor, your disease, how under control it is. All of those factors are important to consider. And so none of this is black and white. It's all very gray. All needs like a lot of testing and trial and seeing how it feels with your body.
The only recommendation is to be conscious of your body, like feel it, and also buy high quality. Most chances that if you go to your bodega in the corner and pick up some CBD, it's not like the best. I always provide people, if they ask for a lab analysis, so they can actually see it's completely clean, no like heavy metals, no pesticides. They can see the exact composition of the plant. So always ask for it's called like a COA, certificate of analysis. I mean, if someone cannot give you that, that's like a red light.
Huge red flag.
Yeah, red flag. Or
Those are great tips for finding a great product. And then, I mean, since we know you have a great product, where can they find it?
So my website is called reclaimlabs.com. Actually, what I do is, because again, people are impatient, I usually like the first purchase, I would throw in another bottle on me for free, just to give people like more runway and to actually have a real chance to try it and let it succeed. Because most chances that one bottle is not enough. And I kind of have to hold their hands. It's like, wait, don't give up. And then usually they come back. Yeah. So again, it's like education.
Very good. Very good. I love that. Thanks for throwing that in. That's super generous. So Ron, I appreciate you joining me today, teaching us what we currently know about CBD. And I'd love to have you back someday when we know more and we can share more details and more evidence and find out what this amazing plant from nature can share with us, because prednisone is based on nature, our cortisol,
yeah, that's true.
And then CBD is from a plant. And so these can potentially have a great future together. Let's find out more. So thanks, Ron. Appreciate
Thank you so much. My pleasure. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you for joining me on this Prednisone Insomnia Marathon. I hope you found practical tips and strategies to help you finally get the rest that you need, even while dealing with prednisone insomnia. If insomnia is just one of the many side effects you're experiencing, be sure to check out some of my other marathons, especially the Mood Changes Marathon or the Tapering Marathon, for even more tools and guidance to help you on your prednisone journey. And don't forget to download your Healthy Sleep Habits PDF. It's a quick and easy guide to help you keep track of everything we've covered today. You'll find the link in the description. Thank you again for trusting me as your guide. Signing off as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist. And check out that next marathon.